Hola clase, hoy vamos a repasar los mandatos y vamos a repasar los mandatos formales. Okay, so today we're going to be reviewing formal commands, so usted and ustedes commands. You'll remember that commands are used to tell someone what or what not to do. We've worked with 3 different types of commands this year: to-form commands, usted commands, and ustedes commands. We've already reviewed our familiar or our to-form commands, so today we're going to be reviewing usted and ustedes. All right, let's take a look on our note guide, and under your formation box, let's review how to form an usted form command. First, we're going to do the affirmative commands. You'll remember that an affirmative command is the formal or polite way to tell someone what to do. To form the usted affirmative command, first step, we've got to go to the yo form. Then we've got to drop the o, and that's the yo form present tense. So we drop the o, and then you add the opposite usted form ending. So that's adding an e to an AR verb or an a to an ER-IR verb. Okay, so if you were trying to tell me, Mrs. Thompson, what to do, if you were telling me, Mrs. Thompson, speak, you would say, hable. If you were telling me, señora, eat, you would say, señora, coma. Okay, let's talk about how we form a negative usted form command. If you're using a negative usted command, you're using it because you want to tell someone politely what not to do. To form it, it's the exact same formation as the affirmative. So you go to the yo form, present tense, you drop the o, you add the opposite usted form ending, so that's adding an e to an AR verb, adding an a to an ER-IR verb, and then the only difference between the affirmative and the negative usted command is that you put a no in front if you're telling them to not do something. So if you were telling me, señora, don't talk, no hable. Señora, don't eat, no coma. Okay, let's continue on with usted commands, but let's review their irregulars. You know that there are 6 irregular usted form commands. These are the same 6 irregular verbs that we saw with the negative to-form commands. We called these the dishes verbs. Okay, so here are your 6 irregulars. Dar, which means give, will be de. Ir, if you're telling someone to go, is vaya. Ser, if you're telling someone be, is sea. Haber. Now, this is not used in the usted form command, so typically we just put the smiley face here. But you will use haya in Spanish 3, but in a little bit different way. Okay, not on the final exam, nor is it required for you to know in Spanish 2. Estar, so if you're telling someone be, you would say esté. And saber, if you're telling someone no, you would say sepa. Okay, so on your note guide, you'll have these 6 filled in where it says dishes. And then you'll go over to the negative usted commands. For their irregulars, you'll write the same thing, except you'll put a no in front. Okay, so you would have no de, no vaya, no sea, no haya, no esté, y no sepa. Okay, so what happens if we have a pronoun? Okay, if you have an affirmative command, and this goes for to-form commands, usted form commands, or ustedes form. If it's affirmative, you're telling someone to do something, you must attach the pronoun to the command. Okay, so here's some examples for you. Beat them, bátalos. Mix it, mézclelo. Help me, ayúdeme. You'll notice that on all of these, when I'm attaching a pronoun, I'm essentially adding one more syllable to my command. So when I add another syllable, I must accent to keep my original stress. You'll remember that when adding one syllable, you're typically going to accent the 3rd vowel back. 1, 2, 3. That doesn't work 100% of the time, but the majority of your cases, it will be the 3rd vowel from the end. Okay? What happens if you have a negative command with a pronoun? You'll remember that with a negative command, your pronoun is placed before the verb and after no. So here's some examples for you. No los bata, don't beat them. No lo mezcle, don't mix it. No me ayude, don't help me. No need for an accent with negative commands and pronouns because you're not attaching, thus you're not changing the stress. Okay, remember my best recommendation to you is to take one command and memorize it. If you went back to the to form, you might have learned ayúdame, no me ayudes. If you've got that memorized, you will always remember where your pronouns go. Attached to affirmative goes in front of the verb with negative. Okay, also in the usage notes column of your note guide, you'll notice that we've got a spelling change to remember with cargar verbs. And these spelling changes occur to keep pronunciation. Any command that is a negative to-form command, an usted command, affirmative or negative, or an ustedes command, affirmative or negative, will have these spelling changes. And again, to keep their pronunciation. So if you have a car verb, your C will go to QU. In the usted, if I'm telling someone to play, I would say toque. If I have a gar verb, my G will go to GU. If I'm telling someone in the usted command, pay, pague. And to start or to begin, the Z will go to C in ZAR verbs. So start, empiece. Okay, so we have just reviewed usted form commands. Let's briefly talk about ustedes form commands. You'll remember that when you use an ustedes form command, you use it when you're telling multiple people what to do or what not to do. To form it, the nice thing about ustedes commands, it's formed the exact same way as you form an usted command. You just, with an ustedes, have an in on the end. So these steps will look familiar. Step 1, go to the yo form of the verb, present tense. Step 2, drop the o. Step 3, add the opposite ustedes form ending. So that's an en to an ar verb and an an to er-ir. If I was telling the class, please speak Spanish, hablen español. If I was telling the class, eat, por favor, coman. Okay, what if I have a negative ustedes form command? I would use this again to tell a group of people what not to do. And to form it, same steps. Step 1, go to the yo form, present tense. Step 2, drop your o. Step 3, add the opposite ustedes form ending. And step 4, put a no in front. So just like your usted commands, they're formed exactly the same, affirmatively and negatively. The only difference is the no. So some examples, if I was telling the class, don't speak, no hablen. Don't eat, no coman. Same irregulars as we saw with the ustedes, or excuse me, with the usted. The only difference is that they have an in on the end. Okay, let's practice. Please take a minute, pause me, and work through these examples. You'll notice 1 through 3 are usted form commands, and 4 through 6 are ustedes form. Numbers 3, 4, and 5 all contain a pronoun. Okay, please pause and work through these. Okay, let's review. If I'm telling someone formally, write, I say escriba. Don't swim. No nade. Add it, and the it I'm talking about is la sal. Añádala. Don't beat them. No los batan. Mix it. Mezclenla. And don't taste. No prueben. Okay, if you have any questions on formal commands, please write them down, and we will talk about them before our next mini quiz. Gracias y que pasen